Everybody, it's your man right here, the one and only, that beautiful Rhode Island Red Rooster, one of the original road warlords, and as always, bring you knowledge and dropping the science in this industry of what we call trucking, okay? I was watching this video that was posted yesterday by the Wright brother. Shout out to him. And he made a real good video about when he was asking the question about what would be a good tire for him to run, and then he was asking the question, why is the tire a good tire? You know, when it was recommending, you know, Goodyear or Michelin, you know, all the brands of tires and stuff like that. You know, even some of the, you know, Asian tires and stuff. I want to go ahead and drop that science and stuff on that. All right, and which is, it doesn't matter what tire that you run on your truck. It doesn't matter what tire stuff that you go with. It has nothing to do with, your with the tire stuff that you run that will let the tire go to the distance. Now, there's a lot of science and a lot of variables and stuff that goes into making sure that the tire go the distance. But if I had to number the most important things out of this, it would be inflation, shocks, alignment, and balancing. These four things right there will make up what will constitute how long your tire and stuff lasts. Now, there are other variables and stuff that go along with that, you know, which I'm gonna name off and stuff, but basically, whatever tire and stuff that you decide to run on your truck, if you have any one of those four things that's bad, then your tires are not going to go the distance. It doesn't matter what you put on your truck. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. You know, some people say, you know, go with this tire right here because, you know, you get what you pay for. When it comes to trucking tires, that's just not the case. I mean, you basically just paying for a name. It doesn't matter. The only difference between the tires and stuff is the 32 seconds of tread, which some have more than others and stuff. And so, you know, in that case and stuff, you will be paying a lot more. And then the tread design, you know, which is not, it's not that much of a variable and stuff like that. But, you know, it's basically those two things right there and stuff, those two designs. But, you know, some tires offer you more 32 seconds of tread than other tires. But again, for the most part, if you keep good inflation on your tires, if you do the proper alignments, if you get the proper shocks at the time and stuff, you know, and the balancing, if you got those three things and stuff and they run and you know, they're all in harmony, they're all in sync, then your tires will go the distance. All right. You know, some variations and stuff, you know, is the type of freight that you run, the type of trailer that it goes on, the lane of travel that you go on. You know, those things and stuff are equally important and stuff, but you know, some things you can control, some things you can't. You can't control, you know, the highways and the roads and stuff like that. Like me, I basically run East Coast. So that means I won't have a problem with inflation as much, but I will have problems with shocks, alignment, and balancing. And the reason being is because, you know, a lot of the roads and stuff are bad. You know, I do a lot of New Jersey, New York, especially. New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts and stuff, you know, which have very bad roads and stuff. So, you know, hitting potholes and stuff like that, you know, running tires on the curb, those things there and stuff, you know, it really destroys the integrity of, you know, those things and stuff that I mentioned about my balancing, my alignment, and my shocks. You know, it puts a lot more pressure and stuff, as opposed to someone who's running, like, say you run the South, right? You know, you run the South, you run the Southwest and stuff, like, you know, say Florida to Texas. You won't have so much problem and stuff with balancing and your shocks and your alignment, but you will have a problem with your inflation of your tires and stuff, being that the temperature it's a lot hotter. And so, you know, with your temperature being hot and stuff, if you don't maintain the proper inflation and stuff on your tire and stuff like that, you know, and it tells you what to run and stuff, you know, 110. It tells you to run 110 and stuff on your steer, on your drives, 105, you know, especially if they're brand new. You know, like I said, if you don't keep the proper inflation, and then you have to monitor it too and stuff, because when it's hot and stuff, you know, you actually get more air in your tires and stuff. So if you got to maintain it 110, you need to check it, because if it goes up to, if it goes above 110 and stuff, then, you know, you actually destroy the integrity of your tire and stuff. So you need to keep it at 110 for your steer, for your drives, 105. Okay, in the wintertime, all right, inflation is also important inflation is also important too and stuff, because in the winter you lose air in your tires. So by not keeping a proper check on it and stuff, you know, and that again go back to the Northeast and stuff, which I run, you know, in the wintertime, I have to keep more of a check on the inflation, because if I have it aired up at 110, sometimes I might go back and then, you know, it's at 105. Same thing with the dry tires and stuff, you know, if it's at 105, it might go down to 100. All right. A lot of people neglect checking the inflation and stuff on your tires and stuff. And so what happens is, regardless of whether you run a new tire, used tire, if you run a recaps, if you have too much air in it, or if you don't have enough air in it, then it wears out prematurely, and that's where you get your blowouts and stuff at, you know. So inflation of your tires are important, and if you know that you're not going to get out there and check your if you're not going to check the inflation on your tires, then what I suggest that you invest in, they actually have monitors and stuff that, where they have little devices and stuff that monitor your air pressure and stuff inside your tire and stuff. It's not cheap, but at the same time, it's well worth its money, because it keeps a surveillance on your tire pressure, and then it alerts you when one and stuff is low. I think it's worth its money and stuff. You know, I'm definitely going to invest in it, because it beats, you know, checking the pressure and stuff on your tires, because sometimes if you have a bad stem, then sometimes they'll get a slow leak too and stuff. You know, you go putting air and stuff in it, you get a bad leak. Well, you get a slow leak and stuff like that, and then, you know, when you think everything's kosher, you go back and check your pressure again, and you see that, you know, they're not up to par. So keeping the proper inflation in your tires and stuff is very important. The other thing and stuff is, you know, alignment and balancing and stuff. You know, that again goes with you know, sometimes you could tell based upon how your tires are wearing and stuff, or just based when you're driving your truck. You know, it's supposed to be dead center and stuff like that. If it pulls too much to the right or to the left and stuff, then that means that your alignment is definitely off and stuff. You need to go get it checked on as soon as possible, because, you know, with that, there are also sciences inside alignments and stuff too. You know, you know, your pins, you know, your pins, tie rod ends, those sort of things and stuff there, they go bad and stuff, you know, based upon, you know, when you're going across bad roads and hit potholes and stuff like that all the time. And also, you know, your shocks, and stuff, if they're also bad, then, you know, they contribute to that wear and stuff as well. So, you know, all these things are equally important, but those four things I mentioned, the inflation, the shocks, the alignment, and the balancing, all these key things are important and stuff to make sure that your tires go the distance. Because if any one of those things and stuff are bad, your tires are not going to go the distance, no matter what you run. So again, it doesn't matter what tires and stuff that you choose and stuff like that. It's not one of these situations where, you know, getting something that's cheap and stuff is necessarily bad. That's not it. You know, I mean, you're just basically paying for a name. And so, I mean, in those cases there, some of those name brand tires and stuff, people run them, but, you know, they have accounts and stuff, or, you know, if they're with a carrier they're leased on, then, you know, they get a deal on those tires and stuff there. But, you know, a person, you know, like yourself, that's learning the industry or whatever stuff, you know, I suggest, you know, running Asian tires, you know, because they're cheap, and you can apply those sciences and stuff to make sure that the tires go the distance. So, you know, that's the thing there and stuff. But my experience with me running every single tire and stuff like that, you know, it's basically, you know, keeping those things and stuff in check, and not necessarily the tire itself. Because again, if those things and stuff are bad, your tires are gonna wear out prematurely. Doesn't matter what tire and stuff you buy. So I hope that information right there was helpful. If you want me to go more in depth, you know, just feel free to hit me up. My information and stuff is on my page and stuff, you know. Let it be about the industry, and I'll help you out as much as possible. Hit me up on my Facebook page, which is Red Rooster. Red like the color, rooster like the bird. I got trucking information up there as well. And with that being said, this man right here, the one, the only, that beautiful Rhode Island Red Rooster, telling you as always, continue to do your research, fact find, and studies. Harness on your skills every day. Till next time we talk, next time we meet, be safe, be easy, and peace out.